So, Darshan, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm really excited to learn more about your background. You have a very interesting background. You started in California, or I guess you grew up in India, and then you came to United States for education, started a company, exited, and then went back to India for your investing ventures. So we're going to get into all of that story today, and I'm really excited to learn more about all of those things. But let's start with your background a little bit. Start us off. How did you what did you study, and how did you start that first company?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me, Dhaval. Super excited to be on Startup Steroid. I think what you guys are doing is wonderful, and glad to be part of it.
Thank you.
I think I will start with the educational background. So I did my bachelor's in computer science from Ahmedabad, India, and then came to US for master's in computer science for further studies. And I did it from University of Southern California, USC. So LA has been my hometown. First landed there, so you have a natural affinity for the first town that you land in. So always LA has been close to my heart.
Absolutely.
But then, just like all the computer engineers, I think the final destination is the mecca of everything is Bay Area. So after doing my master's, moved up there, but still wanted always to be in California. So went up there. And then I started my career with Netscape. So around those days, Netscape was one of the hip and cool companies for the youngsters, and a very different background, very different culture actually than the typical Bay Area startups. I think they were one of the first to kind of break the stereotypes of IBM and Oracles and whatnot. So I remember still first day when I walked in, and there was a TT table, instead of a receptionist. And I was like, where am I? Am I in the height of the building or what?
Absolutely.
But it was a very nice experience. So Netscape changed and groomed me a lot. So I spent about 5 years at Netscape working on different server products. And then I joined and founded a company called Affinity Circles. And we were this is right about the time when Facebook and LinkedIn and all the social media hype started. So we wanted to create a portal for alumni organizations, because they were all going to the different social media platforms, and the alumni organizations wanted them to interact on their brand. So that's how we started creating private labeled social networks. And we had more than 150 universities, you name it, like USC, Wharton, Stanford for that matter. Most of the Berkeley, all the big brands were on our platform. And we sold that out, the company. And that was the time when I decided to move back to India, because born and brought up in Ahmedabad and always an Ahmedabadi by heart. So always wanted to come back, do something for the society and all that.
Gotcha.
So it was a logical break. And that time around 2007, after spending about 12 years in US, decided to come back. And when I came back, I joined and I started taking care of a company called Automation Anywhere, which was very in a nascent stage at that time, about 10 to 12 people in Baroda. But they are into robotic. Yeah, sorry.
No. I wanted to get to that, but I want to explore your the startup story a little bit more, because that sounds really interesting. A white labeled social network is almost a foreign concept now, because everybody's on Facebook. But that seems like a really interesting initiative. So tell me when you started that, and you said you exited in 2007. How long of a period that was, and what that journey was like?
Right. So I think it started around 2003, and I think this is, as I said, it's a similar time frame, and all these social media companies right now, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them started. And actually, it's very interesting that we were all on the same street in Palo Alto.
Oh, wow.
So it was, I mean, right now, if I reflect back like 15 years ago, and it all sounds like, wow, what times we had. And we would walk into each other's office, even including Mark Zuckerberg and whatnot. because they were also
Wow.
young Stanford alums. We had all the Stanford alumni, young guys also in our company. So it was
Oh,
like
wow.
where
Yeah.
everybody knew everyone else. And you know how Bay Area is, it's like at
Yep.
the time it's like small entrepreneurs community and all that. So we were all, I remember University Avenue. And but yeah, we all had kind of different models and all that. And I think we all
Right.
did what we thought was the right approach and all that.
Right.
And that was an amazing journey because with hardly 5 or 6 people, but the concept and the delivery kind of happened to 150 universities, and that showed that if you have the right concept and fitment to the market, then I think you need very less selling efforts. So
Right.
if you're spending a lot more selling efforts, then you have to kind of rethink your strategy. That am I trying to kind of shove something down to the market's throat, which is not required? Am I swimming against the current and whatnot, right? So, but
Right.
that was an interesting journey. So we've and all the alumni organizations were super receptive about it, and we had a huge success as well. But eventually, so that was about I think 4 years of our journey. And as I said, we've got all the big brands of US, more than 150 universities,
That's
business schools,
fantastic.
East Coast to West Coast. So all the universities covered. And they also huge value. And we work with all the alumni organizations. And to
Wow.
so that was quite a bit of an
So that's fantastic. And 4 years ramp up is pretty exciting. And that really feels like a roller coaster. I'm sure. But what was the exit like? Tell me. I don't know if you can disclose the company you sold it to or any specifics. But how was that deal like? Because you guys were still a relatively small team, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's all the data is confidential. So I think we
Yeah.
didn't even disclose that because it's a private
Totally
company.
fine. I understand.
But I think they love the idea that we could basically the value they saw was that we have an access to 150 alumni organizations with more than 10
Right.
million plus alums data verified on our platform, right?
Wow.
Because the
Okay.
data we would directly get from the alumni organizations, and the portal would come kind of pre-filled or pre-populated, right? So, for example,
Right.
right now, let's say I go on LinkedIn and I say I've done masters in computer science, but there is no way for LinkedIn to verify, right? Or for you,
Right.
Dhaval, to verify that you are talking to me and whether I have actually been to USC or not, right?
Right.
There is no
Right.
way. But when you are on the alumni organizations platform, all those degrees and everything else comes pre-populated. So, and it's read only kind of. So I cannot edit it.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
when you, and of course, alums have strong affinity. There is a camaraderie with each other, right? For example,
Yep.
Trojans. So like we would like to help out other Trojans and all. That's a natural affinity. So
Absolutely.
we would like to first go and look at the other Trojans, the other alumni on that portal, which comes verified, right? The data and information comes verified. So that
Right.
was of a huge value. So could not disclose the other exit amount, but I think that's what made us very lucrative. Although we were a team of only 7 or 8 people, but just the fact that we could penetrate 250 alumni organizations, which is a tough sell because these are non-technical guys, so to speak, right?
Right.
And
Right.
social
Right.
media was just coming up. So, but they saw the value because they also want to do something for all the alumni, and they want them to interact and connect and network with each other. So that's
That's
how the
fantastic. That's such an exciting story. And I guess you also got out at the right time
yeah,
because 2007, and we all know what happened in 2008, late 2007, 8,
correct,
and 9, right?
correct.
So that's fantastic. You must have sold the company, moved back to India, and been like, what a relief that you got out just in time, right?
Yeah, but then there was a flip side also that in India everybody thought that I must have run into some problems in US. That's why I'm
Oh,
moving back.
right.
But I know, but no, it was a perfect timing. I think it was impeccable, and
That's
that was a
great.
to do something. Yeah.
Right. So let's continue the story. When you came back to India, what you started with which company, and tell us a little bit about your role there.
Sure. So there's a company called Automation Anywhere that's
Yep.
headquartered in Bay Area, again San Jose.
Okay.
Again, very small company at that time, and they also started around 2004 or something. So they were about 2 3 year old company, about 10 to 12 year established operation, but about 10 to 20 people in Baroda, which is about 100, so about 70 miles from Ahmedabad, if you can. And
Right.
uh, when I decided to move here, they wanted somebody to run the India operation, and everything, the software development, the product design, everything was happening in India. The workforce was in India. Of course, all the executives were back in Bay Area, so they wanted someone who is local and who can take care of all the teams, and that sounded very interesting to me because I always there is something about working with startups, that's always excited me. That's maybe it's the pace, the kind of unknown, and kind of trying to make something happen out of nothing. So that's always gets me out of the bed in the morning, and
Yeah.
when there is an org chart and hierarchy, that's when I lose interest in the company, to be very honest. So when there is a hierarchy and all, it's like these are divisions and these are department, I'm like, now I'm out of here. So the startups always like, maybe I'm hustler, or that way, or hustler, sorry, hustler that
Yep.
way. You can uh, tell me that. But so that was very interesting, and so I decided to join that company, and of course. Engineering was my forte, and then started doing the product designing as well. So product conceptualization and all of that, and also taking care of their operations in India because, as I said, no executives were on site. So then spent about 6 years, next 6 years, building some world-class product lines, and that ride was amazing. So we grew from about 10 people to about 160 people. We moved
Wow.
four offices in 6 years, every time scaling up. And to scale up a product company is very difficult compared to the service company. A service
Hmm.
company can grow like that because it's all about hourly charges and all that, and you need just resources and manpower. So you just hire and you just put them on the customer projects. But
Right.
for a product company to grow, I think you need to have the vision and you need to execute it, and you need to continuously evaluate the market needs and stay ahead of the curve all the time, and
Yep.
then only a product company can grow. Otherwise,
Exactly.
it's very difficult for a product company to grow. So for a product company to grow from 10 to 150 in 6 years was amazing. Of course, we introduced 6 new product lines, and revenues went multifolded and all of that. So that was a
Fantastic.
very, very interesting journey, and very exciting, especially from Gujarat, which is not one of the tier one or cities or states of India like Bangalore or
Yep.
Pune for that matter, right? So
Yep.
to find the resources that are capable of working on these world-class products. So we always tell them that you are not competing against any local company. You are competing against the engineers coming out of Stanford and Berkeley for that matter. So just
Right.
to give them the perspective, because them sitting 10,000 miles away, they have no idea like what this product is they're doing in the market and all that. And right now, I'm very proud to say that Automation Anywhere is a world leader in robotic process automation. We've got, I think now more than 45 branches in all over the world. Like name it, all the tier one, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Seoul. We have
Wow.
branches everywhere, and we've got more than, I think, I don't now remember, 5,000 plus people, and now got backing from SoftBank, and even the Salesforce Ventures recently invested in Automation Anywhere.
Fantastic.
So yeah, so it's been wonderful journey. So that I was with Automation Anywhere till 2014. So after coming back for about 6 to 7 years, I spent time with Automation Anywhere, and that's the time that I again thought that it was a logical break for me, and to do something now on my own with all the experience that I've gathered, and want to do something again from a scratch. As I mentioned, that once company
Right.
reaches a certain stage, then I again reset myself and try to go back and go back to the basics and go back to the startup level.
No,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so that's the journey with the Automation Anywhere.
Fantastic. So
And
then I know after that you started to do some investing, and you sort of created a group with a few of your friends.
right,
So let's talk about now the investment part of sort of your career and how you got into that.
absolutely. So uh, as I said, like, everybody has multiple lives. Dhaval, you would have also multiple lives when
Yep,
you came out
absolutely.
of the college and school, and then you have one life, and then at one point you decide that no, enough with this life. Now this is the second life I want to start, and then again you say enough of with this life, I want to do something else. And maybe that's why you are back, or you are in West Coast from East Coast, and
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah.
starting something new. So that was the time frame for me, that now I felt that okay, I've worked enough in the industry with multinational companies, and whatever I wanted to achieve, I've achieved in all the angles, even creating a startup in Bay Area and have a successful exit, coming back to India and building a company from scratch, working with the other teams and all that. And then this was my third life, where I decided that now I want to start helping the other startups. So if I start my own company, then I will have one company in 5 years, and the city that I am in will have one company. But if I create a platform where I can launch multiple companies, and in 5 years I can have 10 companies, and
Exactly.
it was not about money motivation for that matter, but now it was like that, now how can I scale whatever I've learned, and how can I scale in the sense that I pass that information, I pass that knowledge to as many people as possible, so that there is not only one darshan in Ahmedabad, but there can be 10, 50 darshans. And so that was kind of the motivation, that whenever I was working, when I worked with automation anywhere, I found that there is no shortage of passion or talent, for that matter, in my hometown or my home state.
Right.
But I think all they lack is right mentorship, and it's just because of lack of exposure. I was lucky and privileged that I could go to US and I could work in Bay Area and all of that, but not
Right.
everybody has that kind of privilege and that kind of opportunity. And but that doesn't mean that they are not capable of doing great things, right? So I'm like, how can I bridge the gap, where I bring the experience, I bring whatever I've learned to the table, and then they bring their passion, their dedication, and their talent, and we can work something out. Then that would be great for the local markets, and for all the entrepreneurs as well. So that's when I joined hands with a couple of other friends who were coming from similar background. They were all software engineers coming back from US, Canada, been successful in India as well. And also they are looking for the similar giving back to community kind of purpose, right? So we all got
Right.
together. That's when we found a platform called MD3. And we decided that at that time we will, the first time entrepreneurs, we will entertain them, we will help them out from financial purposes to the consulting purposes, when the consulting would include the strategy designing, even hiring, marketing, selling, getting beta customers initially, going to international markets, even taking care of the back end operations like accounting and legal aspects and HR and whatnot, right? So kind of the whole enchiladas of starting a successful company,
Right.
and help them from all the angles. And so that's when we started that platform. And again, for next 3 to 4 years, we launched about 9 to 10 companies on this platform. Majority of
Nice.
them were success. Some of them we had to pivot, we had to kind of put them on back burner, we have to shift the founders to other directions and whatnot. But overall, we are very happy with what we were able to achieve in Ahmedabad, which again, as I said, it's not tier one platform or tier one city
Right.
for the enthusiast. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And of the that portfolio, you had some really good exits also, right?
yes, yes.
So tell me a little
So,
bit about that.
right. So what? Absolutely. So what we've decided to do was that we started taking companies in different sectors, so that we can have, and so that they can be complementary to each other. At the same
Mm.
time, we create a very diverse portfolio for anybody else to have a look at MD3 as a one-stop shop to buy and get their hands into all these sectors, right? So that was kind of the strategy. So one was a services company that grew to about 250 to 300 people, and recently they got bought over by a company in Texas. So that was a
Wow.
very successful exit. The second one was the enterprise software. They are into uh, actually the network management and monitoring and all that. And that's a huge business moving forward because now everything's cloud, private cloud, public cloud, hybrid.
Right.
Everybody's data and cyber security is becoming very top notch
Right.
priority. Just recent take some recent events of US of Russia hacking and all that. So but that was an enterprise SaaS model, so that was
Mm.
very different than the services company. And SaaS was also starting where now in India people are ready to pay the subscription, to buy the enterprise software on demand.
Right.
Otherwise, everybody would think on-prem, on-premise was the way to go, and it was very difficult for us to bring them out of that mindset. But that did wonderfully well. So Mota Data is the name of the company. And again, I'm not associated with MD3 anymore since last couple of years, but I'm just telling you the stories what
Right.
we
Right.
did.
Right.
I was there for 3 to 4 years. So Mota Data is doing wonderfully well right now. They are also growing more than 200 people. Again, a product company, pure software enterprise SaaS company coming out of Ahmedabad, so couldn't be prouder. Then we have got companies into IoT as well. So IoT was also on one rage that was back
Yeah.
then. It's still there, but now it's a little bit fading. But IoT was the name of the game again 3 4 years back. So we had a company in IoT space as well. We have one fintech company where we partnered with an Australian-based CPA firm, so they would provide the domain knowledge and we would provide the technical expertise and all of that. And we created one again enterprise SaaS product just for the CPAs of Australia.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and that's again you can white label. So if you are a CPA firm, you can come to our platform. You can white label this product and you can pay the subscription, and you can have your customers on your brand interact on using our platform.
Very
So
nice.
these are
Okay.
some of the ones that went internationally also very successful. And so that was the story of Ambitry. Some of the ones that did not work, as I said, IoT, we started thinking something IoT, and I think that was uh, maybe a little bit ahead of the curve, or IoT was still kind of getting its own definition refined. So because IoT is like Internet of Things, and it can mean so many things to so many people and so many
Right.
different industries, right? So sometimes that's what happens when you have like broader or larger picture and you don't have real very well focused approach, then sometimes you get tend to go in all the directions and you end up being nowhere. So that was
Right.
one company that we learned our lessons from, where we went and to into the space, but I couldn't really get the nerve of the market and the direction of the market that it was
Right.
moving in. So we also struggled. But for a company, it is or startup, it is very difficult to pivot many times. You can pivot two, three,
Right.
4 times, but if you keep pivoting, then you lose your identity.
Right.
Um, you end up in identity crisis. So
Yeah,
that
and
was
IoT, I remember, 2 3 years, 3 4 years ago, IoT was huge. Before
right.
it wasn't, right? That
Correct.
shift happened relatively quickly because
Quickly.
people really couldn't figure out the right solutions for the right
Right.
items. So
Right.
the tagline I remember here was, "Why do I want my toaster talking to my microwave?" And
Right.
it was like I don't. So like that sort of disqualified the entire business model, right?
Correct. Yeah, including the refrigerator, like you can program your refrigerator ACs, and they were all very sexy and glamorous concepts to begin with. But
Right.
I think that where yeah, it did not materialize in the real world. And but Dhaval, you need to understand that like all the startups, they are like the stock market. They work on the anticipation or the imagination that
Exactly. Absolutely.
what's coming or what's going to happen or what they think is going to happen.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
sometimes, yeah, the market doesn't go that direction and may take completely some other direction, or maybe some breakthrough technology comes in, and then suddenly the entire wave shifts over there. So that's the
Absolutely.
gamble whenever you are in a startup. So yeah,
But yeah, no, so you're learning all of these really important lessons as you're investing in all of these companies.
right,
And I know about 2 years ago, you decided to sort of break out on your own and
right,
start your own venture. So
right.
let's talk about that a little bit, because that really is now you're coming into your own as an investor and as a mentor to these companies. So tell me a little bit about that.
So that's my fourth life, and hopefully the final one.
Yes. No, no,
But
it's good for 6, 7 years, and then fifth.
so again, interesting thing happened, Dhaval. So, or maybe I'm growing old. I don't know what. But at one point, then I decided that now enough with this corporate or this enterprise software also. But now, how I can bring the enterprise or the IT technology or or whatever that I've learned and apply it to the social enterprising level, or the social entrepreneurship level. So again, I'm now moving all the way to the society level, so which was always in back of my head when I moved back to India, that eventually, you have that itch, then only you can move back, and that you want to do something for your country, for your society, for your city, state, whatnot, right?
Right.
So that itch was always there. So then I decided that now maybe it's the time that I somehow apply my learnings into more of a social in a social setup, and how I can help companies or build companies that affects the society in general. So enterprise SaaS, everything is perfect, everything is great. They all it's required. But once you have also it's done and dusted, when it's done, then now the next is that now you want to give back and you want to do something for the greater good of for
Absolutely.
everybody. Right? So that's where kind of my vision shifted a little bit, and that's when I decided to do something of my own. Maybe because it is a very relatively new space, very emerging and happening space in India. But as I said, the social enterprising and or the social entrepreneurship is something that's been now coming into existence just in last couple of years, 2 3 years, widely. I mean, it's been always there. A lot of NGOs, a lot of people doing a lot of great work, but bringing technology and for greater good of mankind. So that's when I decided to start my own firm called Six Sun Ventures. And the whole idea was that I would like to now invest in the companies that work with the society's betterment, or for
Right.
any kind of society related, whatever the burning issues or whatever the issues that we feel, how we can address them and how we can help more companies in the social enterprising space. So with that concept, my wife and I started this firm about 2 years ago, and so I think now this is the space that gives us utmost satisfaction, So because when you are doing something for others and for people and society, of course we are not at that scale yet, but I think even when you help one or two companies that can help a few other people in the society, you feel good at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Uh, so the
You can
first,
help one or two people and still get that same feeling. So the fact
yeah,
that you're helping one or two companies, I think that's a huge sort of
right.
achievement, and that's sort of starting the flywheel right now, right?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so in 2018, when we started, there is a company called Matru Bharti. So Matru Bharti was one of the first regional content company, even in India for that matter. So they started with the language Gujarati because they are based out of state of Gujarat in India. And I don't know if all the viewers know that, but in India we have a statewide language. So
Absolutely.
or state-wise language, right? So if you are in Gujarat, you speak Gujarati. If you're from Mumbai, which is in Maharashtra, you speak Marathi. So each state has its own language, and that's where the diversity comes into play, and that's what's so unique about India. And I'm sure most of the viewers also know about it. But so Matrubharati started in about 2014 and 15 time frame, and keeping this regional content in mind, that there are a lot of people, there is a lot of content and a lot of hobbies that want to write into regional language, but then they don't go anywhere beyond certain point. Let's say you are a great writer, you want to write something in Gujarati, you wrote a great novel, but then it sits in your desk, it doesn't do anything, because the
Exactly.
publication houses would only go with very well-known and popular authors, and so you will not get your book published. Everybody doesn't have the money even to publish their book, so they will
Right.
forward through WhatsApp or Facebook and whatnot. But then that's about it. Whatever their
You're not
network
monetizing it
reach,
though when you're doing
exactly,
that.
and network reaches, they will reach there. Not only
Yep.
that, let's say you have 500 friends on Facebook, but not everybody is interested in literature, right? For that
That's
matter.
true.
So
Yep.
you're forcing, like, they will read it, but then you would rather have 500 people who are interested in literature to read your
Yep.
content, whatever you have written, right? And so that's where the challenge. And the similar way, if we saw it, that the readers, they also wanted to read a lot of contemporary, modern literature content coming from very young generations and all that, rather than decades old
Right.
standard, which is great also. But then you would want to have some contemporary content as well. So we saw that or Matrubharti saw that there is a huge gap, and they wanted to do something for that, for bridging the gap, and that's why they created this Matrubharti app, where anybody can come and write, and then we would market it on their behalf. And we created this community also, so the community would come and sign in, and then they can read your pieces, they can comment on it, they can provide you feedback, suggestions, whatnot. You can create your own fan circle and whatnot. So, and this gives
Fantastic.
them also the revenue opportunity, so for some
Fantastic.
them to earn as well.
Yeah. So
So
I think a lot of people might be missing this because we're so when you're in US, you're so focused on sort of English publishing, and
right,
from what I'm hearing, this company is essentially a publishing and distribution company.
absolutely,
I'm in my head I'm envisioning Amazon Kindle or something reading books on
right,
it, but
very
the problem is all the literature is in English, and
correct,
India has these regional languages, has I think something like 20 or 30 different languages and dialects, and
right,
each one has its own literature, its own novels, blogs, articles, things of that nature. And now you're essentially bringing them onto this platform and creating this network of distribution, essentially, where the appropriate audience can have access to this content. I
absolutely,
think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Where if you just get out of the English mindset and realize that there are
exactly,
lots of languages in the world, then you
right,
start to see the opportunity there. So that's
right,
fantastic.
absolutely.
So
And
you essentially joined them about a year and a half ago, right?
yeah, so I joined them in 2018 when they started the
Okay.
Six Sun Ventures, and they were our first kind of investee, the company. And just I would comment on the topic that you mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
that another thing is that because now the data is so cheap, and with the mobile set also so cheap now in India, that now that penetration of internet has gone into so deep into tier 2, tier 3 cities, towns,
absolutely.
villages, and that's where the bulk of Indian population reside, right? So now India has next 300 million internet users that are coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities online, right?
Right.
And that is where the entire, so that's what the entire the game of regional content has shifted. So instead of having just English only internet, now we want, or India needs to have its own internet, and that's where this movement started. But yeah, so coming back to that, Matrubharti, yeah, so we started association with Matrubharti in 2018. At that time, they had about 200,000 subscribers, 200,000 users. They've got pretty good content, and they were into text only format. because people would write on their app and people would read it and all of that.
Okay.
And so I've been with that company for 2 years now, and very, very again proud to say that the Matrubati grew in last 2 years from 200,000 to 2 million users.
Wow.
With daily active of more than 50,000 users spending more than 40-50 minutes a day on our app. So just reading
Wow.
and doing videos and all that. So that's just amazing. And we got more than 40,000 authors who are actively writing on our platform. So, and we also shifted into audio visuals as well. Now we created the OTT platform. So because now OTT is also name of the game.
Yep.
So we wanted to make sure that, because see, if you want the youngsters also to be engaged on your platform, you need to cater them the content that they are interested in the way that they are interested in and are used to. So
Absolutely.
of course they are now all used to on demand, short content, regional content, kind of, and quality content first of all. So
Absolutely.
Matrubhati started or able to cater that. So we've grown, and plus out of Gujarati now we've grown into 9 different Indian languages as well. So that's been journey in last 2 years. And as I said, the space is picking up very. It's so hot right now in India, so everybody's talking about regional content. So
Absolutely.
couldn't be happier. Yeah. So that's the journey with.
Absolutely. So I definitely want to learn more about this company, and I'm going to ask you for the CEO's contact after we finish here. But you also connected with another company just very recently. So tell
Very
me
recent.
about that venture also.
Yeah, so that was again, I think when that guy, the CEO, came to pitch me, he's a very young guy, very ambitious guy. But when he saw that what COVID-19 did to all the businesses in 2020, and I'm sure in US it's the same case, but in India it's because a lot of people depend on their local businesses in India. So
Yep.
when he saw that so many of the brick and mortar businesses that just came to stand still and they had to shut down because of the COVID, and so he always thought that what can he do to help them gain the footing again.
Right.
And so that's where he came up. So the company, he what he proposed was that how can we come up with a model where each and everyone, no matter what that person's expertise is, can earn. So earning was the focus. That how can we provide earning for everyone, each and everyone out there. So the company's name is Kamai, and Kamai in Hindi means earning, literally,
Income.
literal
Right. Exactly.
right? So the tagline is Kamai Ghar Ghar Ki. That means each and every household should have an earning. So that this was a concept coming right at a very right timing, and again close to my heart, because we all want to do so much for those who have suffered a lot in COVID times, right? So how can we do that? And we all have the right intentions, but sometimes we just don't have right platform or the medium
Right.
to express what we can do, right? And so that's when I said that this is a great idea. So this company just launched its Android app just last week, and
Oh wow.
of course iOS app will come soon. But right now it's in the market positioning stage. But so this kind of concepts and this kind of social enterprising and social entrepreneurship type of ideas is now what Sixth Ventures, or what I'm personally very much interested in investing and taking it forward.
That's fantastic. And I love this idea of doing something that sort of helps your community and
Yes.
helps your people. And I think that's such a great passion that you have, that you're sort of bringing out into your community and, helping the people around you directly. Because
Correct.
in IT space, a lot of times we build products and, we sort of sell them to people who we never meet, never shake hands with,
Right.
and we never
Right.
actually see the benefits of that product.
Correct.
So I love what you're doing, and I really sort of
Right.
sort of connect with that mindset. So
And I
Congratulations.
would,
That
oh,
sounds
thank you so
fantastic.
much. Yeah, very nice. So we are super excited, and the journey has just begun, but we are very excited. And another thing is, Dhaval, that this has to be commercially viable. Whenever you do anything
Absolutely.
digital entrepreneurship related work, otherwise, yeah, NGO, they are great and all that as well. But when you make something commercially viable for everybody, then it has a higher chances of success and higher chances of going long term. And going reaching out to many people.
Absolutely.
So I've always kept that equation also in mind, that ultimately, of course, welfare and everybody's wellness is very important, but it has to be commercially viable for everybody, including for the investors, for the company, the founders, and also for the consumers who come and use our services. So that's why we always make sure that there is a win-win-win scenario.
Absolutely. And understanding that business side of things is so critical, especially when you're working in these sort of companies where the
Right.
focus is really the community, right?
Right.
And I think that's the sort of mindset that your background, last
Exactly.
15, 20
That
years of experience, that's what
so
it
true.
brings.
Right. And that is where there's a synergy with these founders, right? So they have great intentions, they have great what you can say, perseverance and everything, tenacity, everything. But then uh, where they would lack is, of course, that how to make it go long term, how we can
Yeah.
translate this into something that business is viable business, right, and can
Yeah.
sustain. And that's where, because these are young kids, of course, and that's where I think we see that the fitment has worked wonderfully well with the founders.
Fantastic, fantastic. You're doing such amazing things. I feel like I can talk to you for another 3 hours about all
Same
of these
here.
companies that you're working with, because it's so exciting when you sort of get into the nitty gritty. It's that's sort of what makes me jump out of bed every morning too. So
Correct, correct. And when
I
you have to
certainly
say
connect.
something about you are excited with, I can also go on for my companies for hours, because this is something
Right.
that I love to do and I'm so excited about. But yeah, thanks.
Absolutely,
Thanks for the
absolutely. So,
compliments.
unfortunately, we'll continue our conversation offline, but we'll wrap up this episode. But
Sure,
before I let you go, I want to ask you this one question.
sure.
And this is really the action step question for all of the founders who are sort of coming up, are sort of next in line, and they're looking to get that investment. They're looking to get Darshan for their own company, so they can be guided to that kind of success. What is the one piece of advice or one action step you can give them to make sure that they're on the right track and make sure they connect with you if they get on the phone with you?
Right. Uh, so I think, of course, there are multiple parameters that we look into before we select the company for the investment. But I think after talking to so many founders or so many startup enthusiasts in last so many years, I think one thing that I always look for first, even before looking into what they are doing or what they want to do, is that what's the price they are willing to pay to make this happen, right? So many times what happens is that many people or many youngsters, many enthusiasts, they have this idea and they have this glorified vision of being an entrepreneur, being a CEO. They would want that on their business card. I'm a
Right.
CEO, founder of a company. But we both know that that's not it, and there is much more sweat and blood that goes behind that card and behind that title, right? So first and foremost, what I see, I would evaluate in anybody who comes into my door is that what's the price they are willing to pay, to up to what extent they believe in making things happen. And many times they want to keep their part-time job and they want to do something in part-time on the VC's money. VCs are smart, right? I mean, we
Right.
know that, like, you wanna have your cake and eat it too, kind of stuff. That you wanna cover your bases. You don't wanna risk anything, but you wanna risk somebody else's money and time. So
Right.
that kind of stuff is a big no-no for me. I don't know if I'm answering your question in a different way or not, But
No, no,
there is
this is exactly it. Right. No,
there's
this is fantastic.
one thing if I want that, be ready to toil like anybody, like 24/7 for like unknown number of days. You have no idea what
Yep.
the right is. And so that kind of confidence, that kind of willingness to pay the price at all the levels, financially, family level, social level, energy level. There are so many like mental level. It takes a huge toll, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. Although everybody thinks that they want to be a CEO, so just first evaluate yourself that how far you want to go, and that's what I foresee before
That's
this.
such a fantastic idea. You're absolutely right that a lot of people don't realize the cost of starting a new venture. And that cost, like you said, it's not just financial. Certainly it is, because you have to leave your full-time job to focus on this full-time. So you're not going to be eating out to fancy restaurants every other week, or you're
Oh
not going
yeah,
to be traveling in luxury cars. That doesn't come until way later. Right now it's time to sort of really buckle down and work.
very true, very true. So that's what, and it's as I said, they think it's cool to be a CEO and all that. It is, but it's not just that. It's a lot more than that, than
Yeah,
just being cool. So
that's such a fantastic idea. You have to earn the title. So
exactly,
that we should create a poster, put it up for people that earn that
exactly.
title.
Perfect.
No,
No,
that's
that I
fantastic.
put you on the
Uh,
title. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Darshan, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate sort of learning from your experience and your knowledge. There are so many good lessons that you shared with us in the last half hour or 45 minutes that we've been talking. I really
Right.
appreciate your time and everything that you're doing for Gujarat. I'm from Gujarat, so you know that we sort
Yes.
of have that bond. But
Right.
I really appreciate that you're focused on that community and are really improving the lives of the business owners that are there. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for coming on today.
Pleasure is all
Hopefully,
mine.
we'll
Thank you so
continue the
much.
conversation soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dhaval. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Darshan. All right. Bye.
Bye.